it just doesn't work. And we get a little bit permissive about it, and then the floor is buckling, so people are spilling it. Are we going there, Sam? Great. She needs to be able to get back in. Antonio, can you just open the door briefly? So, yeah, somebody. Thank you. Just so she doesn't feel like we locked her out. There we go. Thanks. Okay, everybody, welcome to Deconstructing Yourself tonight. This is our Thanksgiving edition, which, since the normal edition would be on actual Thanksgiving, and probably everyone would be having a wonderful meal with their loved ones, as they should, rather than coming out and meditating. We thought we'd move it to Tuesday night this week, and we'll do the same thing for Christmas, which is also on a Thursday. We'll just do Deconstructing Yourself on the Tuesday of the 23rd of December. So we'll get this little Tuesday, Thursday shuffle going for the end of the year here. It sounds like, or it looked like everyone has been here before, but I'll just nevertheless review that we're going to do an hour-long guided meditation. And then we're going to, I'll talk for a while, and then we'll bring around the microphone wherever that ended up. You've got it, good. We'll bring it around if you have anything you want to talk about or ask or report on or whatever. And then at the very, very end, we'll do a little silent meditation together. So that's our program for tonight. Okay, so let's begin as always with our number one favorite super powerful physical exercise, which is getting up and down off the floor. Okay, so that's literally what I'm asking you to do. Don't do it if you don't want to do it or you can't do it. But the exercise is to stand up and then get on the floor all the way in any way you want. There's no correct or incorrect way to do it. And then get back up. And then once you've done that, do it again. Get on the floor and then get back up. Not only is this great for your body, it's really kind of good for your sense of imagining that your meditation posture is somehow fixed or structured or keeping you in place, right? Now we're going to add the secondary feature to this. We're going to continue to get up and down off the floor, but when we're on the floor, I want you to stay there a little longer and roll around. Okay, in any weird way you want. But get down on the floor and then roll around. And make sure you're like squishing your fascia while you're doing this. So really allow your weight to kind of smash you into the floor in various ways. And make sure you get back up and then get back down and do it some more. If you do this, you will never die. Okay. Yeah, that really cushions the blow there. I don't have a nice heavy sweater on though. Yeah.
That's true.
Who's got it worse? That's the beginning of our exercise, and that's a little bit of notice how you feel after doing that, right? It's really interesting. It's really enlivening and wonderful for your releasing fascia and also lymph stuff even. So let's, from there, do this. We're going to swish back and forth as if we are seaweed in a tidal pool. Absolutely limp and fluid and supple. Just let yourself swish back and forth and get lost in that total letting go to the rhythm of the water. And then all of a sudden you're moving in a circle and then you're going forwards and backwards with it. Continuing to do a nice, very loose, very relaxed wave action with your spine. And then suddenly you're circling again. It's going in a circle, going in a circle. Now you can continue to do the ripple action in the circle, and it gets a little complex. And feel free to move back around the other way. Some people come in and the whole meditation is them just doing neck exercises. So hopefully this takes care of that urge before we start sitting. Okay, now as usual, don't come to a stop. Just make the motions less and less large, allow them to become tinier and tinier and tinier till they're just so tiny you can't tell if you're standing still or not. And then it's, because if you tune in to your spine, let's just do this. Let's really let go of all thought, set the thinking mind aside, and just tune into your spine. And you can both tune into the whole length of the spine at once, or kind of run awareness along it section by section. And what you'll notice if you pay close attention is you can only think of it as sitting still if you're not really paying attention. Then there's just an idea, a kind of idea of it as being still. But when you really tune into what it's actually doing, it's never still. Not ever, because it's part of a living being, and so the breath is moving it around a little bit. The in-breath and out-breath causes it to move around a little bit. Balance itself requires that we kind of are slightly adjusting this way and that way. Even if we're holding pretty still in a relaxed way, we're never holding still in a tight way. We're still because we're relaxed, not still because we're tight. But even when we're holding still in a relaxed way, if you tune in, you'll notice the spine is continuously moving. It's never actually all the way still. Now these movements might be incredibly tiny, and we're not doing it on purpose, right? It's not that you're intentionally moving it anymore. It's just that because we're alive, our body is continuously responding and our spines are continuously adjusting. So just set your thinking mind aside. You don't need it. Set the thoughts to the side. Don't engage with them. But also don't try to stop them or change them or whatever. They just can be like a radio that's on in the corner. You're just not listening to it at all. But neither are you trying to change anything about it. Instead, really rest in openness, rest in spaciousness, rest in presence, natural, simple presence. but just stay aware of your spine. So let's sit together in presence, in easy, natural, open presence with awareness of the spine for a little while here. You don't need your thinking mind to do this. If you find yourself engaged in the thinking mind, just set it back aside and come back into simple presence, openness, spaciousness, wide awakeness, with just extra attention on the spine, allowing it to do whatever it's going to do, by just noticing that it's continuously moving. And if you find yourself contacting and interacting with thinking, just let that go. Come back to just resting in presence, vast, spacious, open awareness with a little bit of extra attention on the movement of the spine. Okay, good. Now, what I'd like you to do is notice the breath wave in the same way. The breath is never still either. So remaining wide open, relaxed, spacious, at ease. Just allow the coming and going of the breath wave to rise and fall in the vast space of openness. This doesn't take any effort. Right? We're just leaving our thoughts alone, in which case we're nice and present. And within that presence, the breath wave is rising and falling. So just be aware of that. And otherwise, relax. And again, in just a simple, childlike openness, notice how the wave of the breath and the movement of the spine interact. In certain ways, they're moving together. In other ways, they're moving separately. We're just noticing that occurring in the vast space of awakeness. If you find yourself interacting with your thoughts, just set them back down. It's not a big issue, not a big problem, but we're just not interacting with them. We're remaining present with our spine and with our breath. Good. Now, on the in-breath, feel awakeness and energy coming into the belly. You're breathing energy and awakeness and aliveness into the belly. Each in-breath fills your belly with this vivacity, energy, liveliness, viriditas. And then on the out-breath, it moves up and out and becomes just total wakefulness in all directions, vast, spacious openness. In-breath energy, out-breath openness. On the in-breath, we imagine the energy coming down the central channel and filling the lower abdomen, filling our entire being with energy. And on the out-breath, the breath goes up the central channel, out the top of the head, into just vast spaciousness, tremendous awakeness, boundless openness. Notice how our clarity and luminosity and vibrancy of awareness goes up with each in-breath. As our being fills with energy in the lower belly, our awakeness seems to become more vivid and clear and bright. And then on the out-breath, as the breath goes up the central channel and out the crown of the head, we notice that our awareness becomes ever more boundless, ever more spacious, ever more free. If you want to, you can associate these with some seed syllables. So on that in-breath into the belly, you can use the seed syllable Om, Om into the belly. And then on that out breath, you can do Hreem, Hreem, Hreem. Good. Now continue with this, but we can make a change in the out breath. On the out breath, I want you to just allow your entire mind to just dissolve into that open space. So in the in-breath, it's still energy and clarity and luminosity and vibrancy. Breathing into the belly, filling the body with energy. On the out breath, the air rushes up the central channel, out the crown of the head, carrying the mind with it, and the entire mind just dissolves into, in all directions, everywhere, into boundless space. And if you want to, you can continue the seed syllables Om and Hreem. What a relief to simply allow the entirety of the mind to just dissolve into boundless space with each out-breath. And at the end of that out-breath, as it dissolves into boundless space, the mind simply vanishes entirely. just vanishing into vastness over and over. What's left when the mind vanishes into this infinite space is just pure presence. This vibrant, wide awake, energized, vivid, luminous presence. If any thoughts start grabbing or congealing or captivating with the next out-breath, they all just vanish into space. And we're just left in vibrant, open presence. Good. Now on the next out-breath, as the mind vanishes into space, let the meditation technique vanish into space as well, and simply then rest, doing nothing at all in open presence. So we just let the meditation technique just vanish, dissolve into emptiness. And then we're not doing anything at all, not even meditating. But neither are picking back up thinking and doing that. We're just present. Simply awake. It doesn't take any effort to be awake. It's just there. If you start descending into just sitting there fantasizing or checking out, then start doing the breathing technique again. Otherwise, just rest in presence, natural, primordially pure, fundamental presence, which is there without any effort of any kind. It is simply being awake. This takes a certain resting of that part of the mind that wants to grab on and do things and make something out of it and try. Some people call it the fist of the mind, relaxing the fist of the mind that keeps trying to grab on. I call it dropping the ball. Every time your mind picks it up, picks something up, tries to do something with something, just drop it. Come back to simply being. Let go entirely of the sense of being somebody trying to do something, trying to achieve something, trying to get into a special state, trying to make something happen. Just drop all that. and simply be present without effort. Each time you find yourself trying to do something, trying to make something happen, just let go. Simply be. Very good. Now, coming back into doing something, from this space of vast openness and clarity and luminosity, vibrancy, presence, I want you to think of something you're grateful for, and then just beam gratitude to it. It can be a person you're grateful for, beam gratitude to that person. It can be a thing you're grateful for. I'm grateful for sunshine, and just beam gratitude towards sunshine. And we're just going to continue to do this. You can stick with one thing that you feel intensely grateful for, just kind of repeating it over and over, or move from thing to thing to thing. Either way is fine, but stay very, very clearly and continuously with gratitude. Stay with it. Really thinking of beings and things you're grateful for, and then beaming a real sense of true thankfulness and gratitude towards them. If it gets to be too hard to continue, just rest for a minute on the beaming part and just feel the gratitude in your body, in your experience that you've generated. Just sit with it, feeling it, soaking in it. And then if it starts to fade away, begin again with thinking of someone or something that you're grateful for and beaming the gratitude. And just for a little while, just repeat the words to yourself silently. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just kind of beaming it to all the things and people all at once. Just that simple phrase, thank you. Thank you. Okay, good. Let's end that there. Ending the meditation. So much to be grateful for. But I want to back up a little bit and talk some about what we were doing before that. It's very interesting because the fundamental understanding is that we're wide awake. Our deepest nature is nothing but awakeness and love, awakeness and love, awareness and kindness. Like that's our fundamental nature. And yet, for the most part, we're not tremendously aware of that. Right? It's very often the case that we're really unaware of that. And you kind of have to ask yourself why, if that's your basic nature, why it seems that we're filled with stuff other than kindness and love and maybe kind of distracted or asleep or groggy or whatever, checked out. And it's a reasonable question, right? Michael, you said I'm awakeness and love, but really I feel like kind of grumpy and, asleep. Or really tuned into my, card game or whatever. I'm just completely lost in business and I'm trying to make money and I just sort of doing other things. And so how can that be true? And it's simple. We just have a habit of paying attention to other things besides our basic nature. Right? We're really trained from birth to pay attention to anything but that. Right? If you were to spend a lot of time in school relaxed into basic openness, not doing anything at all, not engaging with any thinking and just being really awake and really relaxed, you would fail immediately. Right? That's not how you get a good grade. You have to focus on stuff, right, and do stuff. And we're going to get involved in things and do things and all that. And of course, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're never taught to do the other thing. To remember that, the attention we're putting on stuff has its foundation in awakeness itself. And that all that doing has its foundation in this fundamental being. And that it actually is a thing to just set down all the doing and set down all the focusing on stuff and just relax into that primordial nature, right? What's underneath it all, which is just this presence. It's funny how this thing that is so foundational is just left out of everything we do. And you know, if you wanted to be very, very generous, almost indulgent, you can say, well, it's just assumed that you're doing that. But of course it's not. There is no assumption of that. So from the day we're born, we're just taught to do, and attend, and even more, the fundamental strategy of then dealing with anything that can't be immediately solved, that is uncomfortable, is to check out, right? So, hey, let's get involved in binge watching, a lot of stuff to binge watch. There's quite a bit of it. If you haven't noticed, you can do it endlessly. And it's super fascinating. It's really interesting. And then if you're very interested in it, you can then get into the fandom world about being distracted by that. So there's distraction about the distraction, and then we can, if you're really into it, you can start to do fanfic for the fandom about the thing that you're distracted by. And so all of that's wonderful. I think that I celebrate all that stuff. It's great. And yet notice how it's just, now I'm more distracted and more distracted and more checked out and checked out and checked out from my own being. And even though sometimes the being is filled with grief, or the being is filled with sadness, or the being is filled with anger or whatever, it's still deeply, profoundly healing to come back and just be present with that. To come back out of the story, out of the identity of the trauma, out of the details of the whole thing, and just come back out of the whole thought construct into just beingness. We just don't get trained to do that. So, you know, we have endless repetition of training in doing and distracting and being lost and being asleep, and almost none in just coming back to our vibrant, clear, awake presence. So that would seem almost hopeless, except the vibrant, clear, awake presence is foundational. Everything else is resting upon it. So it's actually, you can't escape it. It's not that, oh, you've only been trained in distraction and delusion, and so you're done for. Give up, you know. Instead, it's like, just notice that that's a house of cards, and if you just relax, you can't help it. You'll come back to the presence. This primordially pure foundation of awakeness that's always there. And it's not even hard. What's hard is to then relax there, because we're so trained in the habit of tightening back up that the minute you rest there for a minute, you go, whoa, got it, okay, back into some other thing. And then it's like, oh, that's right, Michael said, relax into that, okay, there it is, just let go. Whoa, got to do this other thing. And so that's the only issue, is that we've got a habit of then re-engaging, squirrel, you know, and you're gone from the presence. And so the thing, the irony, the paradox, or just really the sort of mundane work of it is to retrain that habit. It's just a habit. And again, you have a real leg up on retraining the habit because the awakeness is foundational, right? And so all you got to do each time is let go, and you always fall into presence. Fall into presence, fall into presence. Now, of course, in the way I'm talking, there's kind of a potential failure mode, we could say, a way to mess it up, which is to then think that any engagement with thinking is somehow bad. And so, why don't we just all turn into clams and be happily present without a single thought? And of course, that's not what we're saying. Actually, very, very deep resting in presence gives rise to incredibly clear thinking. But that's its own thing. That's different from the kind of fixated, driven, habit, propelled, just thought distraction, right? Which is kind of like junk food thinking. It just has it's just happening because we can't relax into our own beingness. Whereas, okay, now it's time to actually use the mind to do something. If we're not just distracted, not just fixated, not just lost in habits, or worse yet, trying to avoid our experience, if that's instead where we've retrained ourselves to be able to put it in a funny way, kind of tolerate the openness without recontracting, we tolerate just our own beingness, then the clarity of thinking that's possible is very, very high, very precise, very brilliant, very beautiful, very clear, right? It's just coming from a different place at that point. So we, of course, celebrate and honor that kind of brilliance of mind, and so there's no sense that this is like anti-thinking or anti-intellectual. It's anti-being lost. So let's see if you guys have anything you want to say. It's a small group tonight. If you want to speak, if you have a question, or you just have something bubbling up, or you want to report, or whatever, raise your hand and Faiza will bring you a microphone. As usual, as always, we've got the cameras and microphones going, so it's being beamed to the internet. Anything you say will be heard by the entire universe for the rest of all time. And as always, I ask you to be mindful of your speech. Other than that, it's fair game. So feel free to raise your hand.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. It's good to be here. It's been a long time since I've been able to come. I'm glad it's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
And what I really appreciated was when you were talking about retraining the mind to not squirrel. So I've just been in my own practice thinking about positive reinforcement.
Yes.
I'm curious, well, I'll share the current thing I'm working with is the phrase rejoicing on the return. So
yes,
every time I'm trying to find a little bit of that, oh, good job, it's like, yes, instead of what I used to do, which was berating myself when I notice I'm fixated. I'm just curious if you have any insights to positive reinforcement.
Thanks for bringing that up. It's super important that we don't give ourselves a hard time for being distracted. And each time you notice you're distracted, you kind of internally punish and shame yourself. It's a terrible practice, right? Sometimes I really love dogs, just a lot, and sometimes I see people working with their dog, and the dog is running around, and the human companion is frustrated and angry, and so they're calling their dog, and then the dog finally comes, and they are mad, so they beat the dog or give him a hard time. And it's like, not only is that sad, but it's incredibly stupid, right? Because you're training your dog to never come back, right? Over and over again, every time they finally come, you punish them, you know? So it's exactly the same thing that we often do to ourselves. It's like, oh, I'm distracted, and I call myself back, and I finally bring my attention back, and it's like, you fucking idiot, can't you stay on task, you know? And so that's going to do the same thing. You're just going to eventually train yourself to never focus. And so just as you're suggesting, instead, when attention returns, minimally let it be, you know, just nice. Oh, okay, it's come back. Oh, that feels good, it's come back. Oh, I'm present again. Ah. And, or you could do a little more maximal version of it, of like, awesome, good job. You know, just make it a positive moment. Because then, of course, you are training yourself to come back and to want to come back over and over again. So there's a little bit of a sense of maybe some who are we going to invoke there? A little Skinnerian, you know, kind of thing going on there that we want to be aware of. Like it's really important to give ourselves positive feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, if you can't bust out the B.F. Skinner every once in a while. Who else has anything they'd like to bring up? Or ask, or talk about, or whatever. I think we've got one right here from, what's your name again?
Thanks, Michael. I feel like I know what you're going to say, but I have the compulsive need to speak anyway. Is getting sucked into the things of the manifest reality, is that always a distraction?
No, this is what I'm saying. Once you're not driven by the need to be distracted, something very different is happening. You know, the flow of awareness and the flow of aliveness is right there with what's going on. Right? So this is a kind of like primordial response. And that's quite different than, oh, I don't want to feel what I'm feeling, so I'm going to go do this. Oh, I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable just being open and still, and so I gotta go do something. That's quite different to say, okay, here's what's going on. The more that we tune into our beingness, to our awakeness, it wants to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's very alive and it's very ready to engage, but it's coming from a totally different place than just the need to not feel stuff and the need to not, the deepest thing is the need to not notice the screaming void, right? Like the giant groundless vastness of it all. And so instead it's like, oh, I gotta get into my butterfly collection and just not notice that. That's where almost all of us are at. Whereas when we're very comfortable with the groundlessness of it all, then the engagement starts to flow in this very natural way.
That makes sense.
So the point here isn't, okay, so just stare at your navel in your, closet until you're dead. Why? Like, no. But let's relax into our aliveness until the motivation is coming from this primordial well of this pure spring of just vibrant being.
Can someone be doing that, sort of like purely experiential engagement, not like a suppression or running away from the void engagement with life, without knowing that they're doing that?
Sure.
Okay. So it's like,
But show me that person. For most of us, we're, deeply lost. And so it
Yeah.
takes a lot of conscious effort to sort of return.
okay. It seems like the people who are drawn to like go sit and meditate for many, many hours are more likely to be doing that getting lost thing, and they're aware that they're getting lost. And if someone is like not lost, just experiencing life, they might not need to go and meditate for a long time.
I don't know. I mean, it's so you've gone into so theoretical now and abstract and kind of general. Who knows?
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Again, show me those people.
Well, I'm curious.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So, on a similar note to positive reinforcement, I can get in these ruts where I haven't sat for a while, and then to compensate, I'll force myself to do a long sit, and those sits might feel like I'm muscling through it.
Yeah.
And then I start to feel an aversion to sitting because I'm like, well, I haven't sat, and if I sit, I need to do a really long one, but that is going to be kind of
You're
challenging.
answering your own question.
Yeah. Do you have advice for getting out of that rut?
Don't do that. I mean, you just the way you're describing it, you get it that doesn't work, right?
Totally.
So, but we all do stuff like that one way or another, and so instead, it's like just be kind to yourself. Just recognize, okay, make it fun, make it interesting. I mean, I've seen teachers that are like, every time you're done meditate, eat some candy. So that just like a little puppy, it's like, here you go, here's your treat, here's your dog treat. Eventually, you start to have a really positive association with sitting. I mean, it's just behavioral at that level, and so just be smart about it in whatever way. And that sort of like shame and like punishment and all, it just doesn't really work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, unless for whatever reason you're into that.
So, my general experience with sitting tends to be pretty contracted. Like the reflex is pretty strong for me to just come straight back in
Sure.
as soon as I'm opened up. And I guess in part because of that and because I don't want to punish myself, my daily sits and practice don't look a lot like the sits do here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I come here, I do try to follow the instructions to the best of my ability. And usually spend most of the time still pretty contracted. But what I found today that was pretty interesting for me was at the end when we were doing the gratitude practice. That
It is
felt,
Thanksgiving after all,
Right,
so
yes.
let's give some thanks.
right, thematically appropriate, also accessible to me.
Yes.
And I was able to drop into that pretty deeply. And as we were coming to the end of that, and I attempted to sort of open up my awareness a little bit more, I really did sense maybe not like the fullness of spaciousness, but definitely like a lessened sense of contraction
Yeah.
that like I hadn't been able to access for the rest of the sit.
Sure.
So it really made me curious about using something like gratitude or even just like emotion as sort of like an entryway into the spaciousness, at least for me.
It's a great question. And, this is fundamental Buddhism that isn't talked about that much or that often, but, in sort of early Buddhism, you're supposed to start out with jhanas, right, which is our meditative absorptions. But when you hear people talk about that today, sometimes it's talked about in like bringing your attention back and bringing your attention back. It's like a real control thing. But that's not the way it's taught in kind of early Buddhism. It's taught as being based on feeling good. So do like a Brahmavihara practice, do a gratitude practice, and as you feel good, it becomes much easier to just rest in an open place. right? So over and over again, I see meditation taught as a kind of control practice. And it's really more of a letting go practice and or a feeling good practice that starts to, according to some guy named the Buddha, if, the prerequisite for concentration is what? The prerequisite for concentration is feeling good. As you feel a little better, the kleshas, the difficult stuff temporarily kind of goes into abeyance, it sort of calms down, and then the mind just naturally becomes stable. That's quite different than saying, yank your attention back, right? So you're just noticing something fundamental, which is that just kind of doing a practice of gratitude or of joy or of love or of beauty or something like that is a great way to just naturally allow the mind to start to rest. It's quite different and really powerful. So you may wish to go further in that direction.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Faiza, for being the microphone jockey there. Let's do our, as promised, 5 minutes. Am I going to have to separate you two? Passing notes in meditation class. As promised, let's do our 5 minutes of silent sitting together. thanks everybody for coming on out on this chilly Tuesday night. Hope you have a great holiday on Thursday, giving lots of thanks and eating lots of wonderful food, hopefully together with loved ones. As usual, feel free to help put the cushions back over on the side, piled neatly on the shelf there, and then feel free to hang out in the foyer, having some tea, maybe some snacks, and talking to other like-minded weirdos. So, thank you so much, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye, everybody. No, 6:30. It's just Tuesday night has been 7 o'clock, so